ladies. Thank you for coming tonight. We have a couple people here, so I'm going to start. My name is Lucy Ingram. I'm Assistant Director for 4-County Counseling for School-Based Services within the Kokomo area, but then I'm also Assistant Director for School-Based and Community-Based in Carroll County. This probably doesn't tell you much about what I do, but I do a couple things. I call myself a hybrid. I work with the kids and adults as a therapist, but then I also supervised other staff that works with the clients, students, kids, adults. So I'm a manager, but I'm also a therapist now. So we met tonight in order to give you a couple information about depression. We all kind of wanted or not wanted dealing it a little bit since the COVID started dealing with it. So I think it's really important if we talk about that topic, give people information about it, and obviously get people also information about how to reach out for help and assistance when needed. So a while ago, when a very smart Surgeon General basically first came up with the topic of stigma. So he said that stigma is identified as a public health concern that leads people to avoid living, socializing, or working with relating to or getting employed by individuals with mental health. Thanks to stigma, which thanks in quotations, people living with mental health conditions right now, currently in the United States and all over the world, are getting alienated. It seems like others just don't really care that mental health is a diagnosis or issues, and basically getting discriminated based on their mental health status, mental health diagnosis. It's very dangerous. It kind of seems like people who have a mental health diagnosis don't have ability to make their own decisions. A lot of times, like, oh, your mental health, you can't really, your health is not good, you can't really make these decisions for yourself. But we all know that's not true whatsoever. They seem to be, people say that people with mental health are irresponsible or they're forgetful and we cannot rely on them, and they're not able to make their own decision. They shouldn't be hired, or they will not be a good employees. All these things basically adding to the stigma. And what we try to do as a mental health, we are a community center. What does it mean? We work with the community, and here in Indiana we specifically focus on the rural community because there's a lack of mental health. Everyone in India has tons of resources and companies that are addressing mental health, but here around us there's really not much going on. So we as a 4-County, we are trying to make sure that people are aware what mental health is, they know about depression, and we want to help them to not be afraid of going out into the community and being open about their mental health, and not to be worried about rejection when you go to have an interview at the job, and you don't have to disclose you have a mental health, but sometimes you do, and then sometimes it worries us. We worry that it will cause the rejection at the job, even though your mental health may have nothing to do with your capability to complete job or do tasks. So does anyone have idea why people feel that way, or why people respond in that particular manner to someone who has mental health? Any ideas? Usually it's lack of education, mostly.
That's what I was thinking, is that it's misunderstood.
Yeah, it's very, very, very misunderstood. It also generates labeling. So giving someone mental health diagnosis is, we need to make sure that it's done the right way, because it's giving on you as a diagnosis, then you're technically getting labeled. So we have example in elementary schools. They will tell kids that they will give them mental health diagnosis in order to achieve, I don't know, them sitting at the circle, right? They're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. However, they don't realize that if you have specific mental health diagnosis and it goes through school, it may cause that particular individual not to be able to admit it to certain colleges because they will not admit you in certain mental health diagnosis. So we have to be really careful about how we label, in quotation, people, because you don't want to resolve a problem with a short solution and then have that labor for the rest of your life that can hinder you to progress. So generally, we're just trying to make sure that everyone is educated, they have all the information what they need, and then they can obviously make the educated decision about how they're going to proceed about their mental health. We don't treat people with cancer or diabetes that way, right? We always look at them like, oh, yeah, they're sick, they're gonna go to the doctor, but it's okay, it's a normal disease. However, mental health is exactly the same, it's a just diagnosis. So there should be no reason why we should treat people differently just because they have a mental health diagnosis and they don't have a cancer. So stigma often comes from a lack of understanding, we said it, or one of the main thing that stops people from kind of like being more open to the mental health is a fear. People are afraid, and that comes from a lack of education and understanding. So inaccurate or mislabeling media representation of mental health contribute to both factors. So we review some studies on stigma, and these studies show us that while the public may accept the medical or genetic nature, right? You may be born with some kind of disease or some kind of disformity, something that's going on with your body. But mostly people accept medical or genetic nature issue, but not mental health disorders. And the need for treatment is still huge. Same like with the regular diseases. Many people still have a negative view of mental health, even though they were educated or they experience it on their own, but they're just not willing to accept it. So the research we look into that identify different types of stigma. We have a couple, there's tons of stigma, but we have some that we wanted to mention today. So public stigma. So public stigma involves the negative or discriminatory attitude that others have about mental health. Self-stigma, we also have something that's called self-stigma. So self-stigma refers to the negative attitude, including internalizing shame. So not just people looking at you weird, but you being ashamed of what you're struggling with. And that people with mental health have about their own condition. So they're worried about their own condition, but at the same time they're ashamed of it. And that's also added to the stigma. So we need to start there too. We need to start educating people that it's okay to, be proud. We've seen it now in Olympics, right? Everyone saw what happened in the gym to the gymnast, Simone Biles, that she chose to go for her mental health more than gold medal or whatever. I don't know if this is a public knowledge, but I learned somewhere that she has an ADHD. She always had an ADHD. She's on ADHD medication. However, that medication is illegal in Japan. Because of that, Simone Biles went on a cleanser, I guess. She got her medication off so she can be clean for Olympics, and her mental health issue came back up because she no longer couldn't take the medication. And she chose her, and she was proud of it, and she stood up, and she's helping to delete the stigma from American society. And it was really sad to see for her, but it was really also great at the same time to see how she handled this stigma. Besides the self-stigma or public stigma, we also deal with a thing that's called institutional stigma. It's more systematic, so it involves like policies in stores and companies, and there are policies, even there are governmental and private organizations that intentionally or unintentional, we can't really say that it's one or the other, but it could be both, they intentionally or intentionally limit opportunities for people with mental health. So, great example would be low funding for mental health. We had no funding for anything. We have to scrape for every dollar we have in order to invest that dollar back into the community and help with the mental health. So that's one of the biggest things that it's underpaid, and we don't invest into the mental health of Americans. And as we see, we have a huge problem going from shootings, going from discriminations. All these things comes kind of hand to hand. Stigma not only directly affects individuals' mental health illness, but it also the loved ones who support them and offer, including their family members. The way the family is viewed because your child is mentally ill, right? Or everyone in the family kind of still is basically stuck in the stigma with the particular person, and it could be the whole family, mom, dad, siblings. You see that all the time. Older siblings getting picked on in the school because their younger sibling in another school has a mental health illness. So we're trying to move on from that because it robs people of life opportunities. That's the biggest. Stigma will rob people from the opportunities, what they can do and they cannot do. It interacts with illness and exposes people to distorted experiences with criminal mental health medical treatment, and then leads healthcare system to withhold appropriate services. That's one of the things that is really hard for us as a mental health company, is the inability of the system and insurance to see the need. They don't want to pay for the therapy. As soon as you get a better insurance, like you don't have Medicaid, but you work somewhere, they have a good insurance, that insurance will never pay for nothing. They will pay for therapy maybe once a month, but that's not enough. People with mental health need constant assistance, and it's not like you're gonna always need it, but they need it at the beginning, and no one wants to pay for it, even though we see the impact on mental health in our society. Oops. All right. So mental health awareness. One of the way we reduce stigma is spread awareness. Be proud of the fact that something's wrong with you. Let people know. And it's kind of with like everything. More we educate people about things, we hope then their eyes gonna open and they're gonna see it. We usually are not very successful in that matter. It does happen when it hits home. People usually are like, yeah, whatever, until someone in their close proximity get actually diagnosed, and they have to deal with that. Then at that point, they start thinking differently about it because they're experiencing at the first hand, right? We have a kind of same attitude about people with addiction, like, oh yeah, whatever, it's out there, we know it's out there, we know people getting high, we know people overdosing, we know people dying, and everyone's like, yeah, they're just addicts and they're losers and they're just not this or not that. And as soon as their son gets addicted, then it's a completely different story. So we know that until it hits home, we all kind of have the blinders on. And until it hits home, then people start saying, okay, I see now. So the reason why we met here today is to teach you about 5 signs of depression. As an agency, as a forecaster, we have taken on a campaign to change the direction. We want to change this problem. This is advocating for signs that there may be something going on and spread awareness of certain signs, how or what you're looking for. So you're not feeling like you, are you withdrawn from your friends, from your family, from society, are you agitated? Do you caring for yourself? Or are you feeling hopeless? Are you feeling like there's really nothing to look forward to? You walk out and the sun hits you on a nice sunny day and you don't feel good about it. These are like not the only sign, but these are the major signs of depression. So we're going to talk a little bit about it today to give you a little perspective on how it is look like. So for example, are you not feeling like you? you have some personal changes. So your personality will change. You may notice sudden or gradual changes in the way that someone's typically behave. He or she may behave in ways that don't seem to fit the person's values. So it's something that changed that they normally do, they believe in, and for no reason it's changed. They don't fit to the person, or the person may just seem different, just their behavior just be a little bit off. Are you feeling agitated? People who may experience signs of depression, they seem uncharacteristically angry or anxious, agitated, or moody. You may notice the person has more frequent problems controlling his or her temper and seems irritable or unable to calm down. People in a more extreme situation of this kind may be unable to sleep or may exploit in anger at a minor problem. So, you bump your knee, but you're so agitated and then you put your fist through the wall because of that, right? It's always gradual problem. Another sign, are you withdrawn? People with the depression, signs of depression, they may seem withdrawn or isolate themselves from other people. Someone who used to be socially engaged may pull away from family and friends and stop taking a part in activities that they usually enjoyed. In more severe cases, the person may start failing to make it to work or school, not to be confused with the behavior of someone who is more introverted. We have people who are introverted, but this doesn't mean they're depressed. They just like to be alone. But it would be someone who used to be social and from nowhere they just don't show up for meetings, they're late to work, their hair is not done, they don't follow well with their hygiene and stuff like that. So we cannot confuse it with someone who's introvert. These signs are marked by changes in someone's typically sociable, as when someone pulls away from social support that they usually have. So that's one of the signs we need to look on. Is your friend been always hanging out and going to dinners and now they don't answer their phone, they're quiet, they don't want to hang out with their friends? These could be a signs of depression. We kind of pick a tail on this, poor self-care. That's one of the things that we usually notice on our clients. They will be doing well, they will be taking medication, and they're doing their daily stuff. They come, they're dressed well, appropriately for weather, their hair will be calm, they will be clean. However, when people stop taking care of themselves and may engage in risky behavior, which we're talking about drinking, use of drugs, or generally risky behavior, you may notice a change in a person's level of personal care or an act of poor judgment on his or her part. For instance, someone may let their personal hygiene deteriorate, or the person may start abusing alcohol or drugs or engaging in self-destructive behavior that may alienate it from loved ones. So it'll be you start hanging out with people who you never want to hang out before. You engage in things like, driving around looking for trouble, and you never did that before. So pool circle, and it doesn't necessarily mean just how we talked about it, hair or your hygiene. It could also be the engaging in inappropriate behavior. You're hopeless. People with depression experience hopelessness. That's probably the biggest sign, because when we meet with the clients and they experience either trauma or they may have a depression, but we're not really sure. That's one of the things we ask them about. What are you looking for? Are you looking for graduating high school if you're a freshman? Are you looking for finishing your college degree? People with the signs of depression, they will experience hopelessness. They seem overcome with hopelessness and overwhelmed by the circumstances they are in. They may have noticed you may have noticed someone who used to be optimistic and now can't find anything to be happy or hopeful about. That person may be suffering from extreme or prolonged grief or feeling of worthlessness or guilt. People in this situation may say that the world would be better off without them, suggesting suicidal thinking. We see that a lot. And it starts with the hopelessness. No one loves me. I don't have anyone who cares for me. I don't have nothing to look forward. I'm bad at this. I can't really do this. So hopelessness is a huge part of depression. It's one of the big signs also. So this is a little fun fact or fiction. So only young people self-harm. That is complete fiction. We see that more often because we pay more attention to the young people around us. But they go to school, they go to places where you aren't running around bathing suit, right? Beach or pool, you know. We have an easy access to see that they are self-harm than adults, because adults have a better way to hide stuff like that. So people of many ages engage in self-harm. Self-harm is a failed suicide attempt. That's a fiction. Its intention is to self-harm, not die by a suicide. So the self-harm comes from the emotional side. Whatever they're feeling, by self-harming, they're releasing that feeling out. Majority of self-harming people do not want to die. However, high percentage of people who engaging in self-harm can possibly kill themselves by mistake, going too far self-harming. People who self-harm are attention seekers, somewhere in the middle. That is not true. We cannot tell them, oh, you're self-harming, you're attention seeking. We see that again with the little kids. They have tendencies to say, I want to die, I want to kill myself. And then when you ask them why, well, because my buddy in the classroom took my purple crayon. It's not for attention. It's just an ability for the little child to be able to express their emotions, and they know that if they say, I'm going to kill myself, there will be people coming, and they will give that. That is kind of seeking attention, but exactly how the PowerPoint said, it's somewhere in the middle. They are attention seeking. They may not have the words to communicate, as I said, and their needs and what they feel, they don't have anyone to confide them. So at that point, they feel a certain way, they don't know who to tell and how to tell it, so they will express their frustration by the extreme, self-harming or stating things like, I want to die, I don't want to live. It's one of the things that is hard dealing with, because we recently, in the past 2 years, see a huge increase in that within the children. We have a lot of children who had a really, really, really hard time during the COVID. It was really hard on them to be without their friends, not have access to the families, or being locked up in a house, because we all were locked up in a house. So we had seen an increase in that, and we see increase in several other different things, aspects of mental health during the COVID, but we're dealing with it. We're out there and we're fighting it. So what is a self-harm? When life feels out of the control, some people hurt themselves on purpose as a way to cope with the pain and anger. It's not the same as suicide attempt when someone tries to end their life on their own, but it's very dangerous at the same time. I'll tell you a little story about suicide. We had a guest speaker in one of our Florida County meetings, and that individual is one of the only individuals in the world who survived a jump from Golden Gate Bridge. When he was 19, he was in blown full schizophrenia. He was not really medicating well, and he decided that he was gonna die. He drove, he took a bus, and the whole way on the bus to the Golden Gate Bridge, he cried on the bus. And he cried, and he cried, and he cried. And not one person on that full bus, full of tourists and other people, not one person stopped and said, are you okay? What is going on? He told us that if one person would ask him, one stranger on that bus would say, what's wrong? Why are you crying? He said, I would never do it. He said, I would never do it. And it is hard to hear from people who survive suicide. However, it's enlightening because he told us when he decided to jump, we let that railing go. The first thing that came into his mind, I shouldn't do that. He said he immediately regretted it. Immediately. He hit the bottom, he hit the river, it is a river, right? He hit the river under the Golden Gate Bridge, and he broke he broke his back, he broke both of his legs, he broke his pelvis, I believe, and he started sinking down. He was hurt. A SEAL came by and hold him above the water because people saw him jump and immediately called Coast Guard, and Coast Guard was already on, and the SEAL was holding him above the water. The gentleman is wonderful. He's adult now. He's in his late 30s. He does this for a living. He goes around, teach people about self-harm and about suicide. And it was one of the things that completely changed my view on suicide. It completely changed my view on people around me. Now, I was always a caring person. I went to grad school for it, and I always wanted to help people. But now when I see someone, even a stranger on the street or anyone, and I see that there's something not okay with them, I will approach them like a weirdo and be nosy, because you never know that one person who can speak that one word to you can completely change someone's life. Because he said, I would never jump if one person in that bus would ask me what's wrong. So that's just like a little story that I personally experienced. It was crazy. We were all sitting there bawling when he was talking. There was 400 people in one room, and it was wonderful. If you have any chance to see the man speaking, he's online, take it. It will change your life. So most common forms of self-harm. So cutting or burning. We see that a lot. Kids engage in that a lot. But they will choose places they're hard to see. So they will wear long sleeves. Or when they have pants, they usually use the inner thighs or upper thigh. But you will see people who will come, and it's 85 degrees outside. They come to therapy and they have a long sleeve and then a long pants. And if you know that someone like that engages in a self-harm, we need to try exploring. Is it 85 degrees? Why are we dressed like that today? So biting, that's another one. Piercing skin with foreign object, sharp object, or even breaking bones. I never experienced that by myself, but it is a self-harm that people engage. It's sometimes used as a cry for help and should be taken very seriously. No self-harm should be taken like a joke or hobby. Most of the time, self-harm, we also call it self-injury, is a sign of more serious issue like depression or also eating disorder. A lot of people who suffer from eating disorder engage in a self-harm. It's in an eating disorder, it's a lot to do with we talked about the shame about your mental health. So people with eating disorder has a lot of shame about what they do, and that's a lot of time cost the self-harm, but it also usually relates to the depression too. Here we're going over some warning signs. So scars from burns or cuts, you will see someone who it's healed up, but it's still like, yeah, that's kind of a lot of burns at the same place. Bruises or other wounds, broken bones, carrying around sharp object like knife when you wouldn't normally need it. We see kiddos who carrying razors. They will actually find anything and everything. They will take you have a pencil that has a rubber eraser on the top, and there's a metal part that holds the eraser on the top of the pencil. That's a very favorite thing of kids to use, because at school, what do you use? Pencils. They're everywhere. Everyone has them, right? So little sharp object, wearing clothing to hide the scars. That's what I mentioned previously. Claiming to have frequent accidents or mishaps. Spending a great deal of time alone, feeling unstable or impulsive, or feeling helplessness, hopelessness, or worthlessness. So these are some warning signs that when we're looking into the depression and the self-harm, this is something we kind of looking for with our clients. All right, we have another myth. If you ask a person about his or her suicidal intention, you will encourage the person to kill themselves. If I ask you, would you like, we have a couple of questions we goes by. We usually ask, would you like to die? Would you like to go sleep and never wake up? And stuff like that. And it's all fiction. It's actually opposite is the truth. They want you to ask. That's why their action kind of are seeking attention. But it's only takes the one question. You ask, they immediately let it all out. So asking someone directly about their suicide feelings will often lower their anxiety level and acts as a deterrent. So your openness and concern is asking about suicide will allow the person experience pain to talk about her or his problems. This may allow the person with suicidal thoughts to feel less lonely or isolated and perhaps bit relief, I guess. Let's learn about the healthy habits of emotional well-being. So we have a card. You can also take them before you leave that describes the 5 signs. On the back of it, you can also have this picture. So take care of yourself, check in with people, engage, relax, and know your 5 signs. So we're gonna talk a little bit about each of those in the next slide. So take care of you, eat, sleep, and be active. These are things that we take for granted. It's not just good for your body. We all want to be skinny and looking good, right? But it's not about what activity is. Being active will release a proper hormones in your brain that will make you feel less depressed. It is hard at the beginning, don't get me wrong, if you never exercise in your life and now your therapist says, I want you to go out there and be active. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna probably die on the first corner of this intersection because I can barely breathe out of this air. Take the small step. Don't get yourself, just because someone says be active, it doesn't mean that you need to run marathon in 1 week. Do every night and walk around the block. Next day you do it a little more faster. The day after a little more faster. And when you feel comfortable, then you can go a little further. But it's really important to sleep, eat, and be active. I understand that there's situations we can't do that. I know it. When I'm stressed, I don't eat. Through the workday, I don't eat. By the time that we have a presentation, I feel empty because I am so stressed out from work, I don't eat. I had to change it. So what I do now, I set an alarm on my work phone and I will set the time for eating because it is helping me to not feel better physically. I can go through a lot of pain and be fine. However, it helps me be mentally sharp. And you have to be able to eat, sleep, and be active. We don't often think about this, how important these basic things are for our mental health, but it's very crucial. So remember, eat, sleep, and be active. Check in. Get checkups. We get checkups for our physical health, right? Everyone goes once a year to get check up your blood work, get all your things in order, what you need to do, so you can live 1 year without the stress. So do that same. We do it in a dentist too. Get checkup for your mental health. We even take our cars for a checkup. So why we not take our mental health for a checkup then? It's time to get responsibility and get checkups for our emotional well-being. Talk with a doctor, counselor, and if you really are not into that stuff, then seek someone in your church. They have a lot of knowledge, and a lot of people will learn or lean towards the faith-based leader. And your family and friends also, just because you're feeling certain way, doesn't mean that you can go and discuss it with your mom, your dad, your friend. You know, you probably will recommend you to seek professional. However, it will help you feel better, at least at that moment. So make sure you check in and you take care of your mental health. Engage and connect wisely. Pay attention to your relationships. We can be healthy if our relationships are not healthy. That's just very important too. A lot of time we're just not caring about ourselves, right? We have spouses and kids and grandkids and relatives, and there's a tons of people in our life we engage with, but these needs to be healthy. If you're you're engaged in unhealthy relationship, it will not help your mental health. We all had those friends. We love them, we spend years with them, but they are not good for us. They make us worry, they make us anxious, they make us stressed. We don't agree with their decision. Be able to recognize it and engage in healthy relationships, because it will again add to the problem. Relax, be active, meditate, garden, dance, love, cook, sing. It doesn't matter what you do or what you want to do. As long as it brings you internal happiness, that's what you should follow. Don't worry about what people do. You want to crochet? And crochet. You want to paint walls for a city because you want to sit? Do that. Whatever you want to do, everyone engage in something else. For me, it is being active. Not crazy active. I like a leisure active. I snowboard, I longboard, I run. These are the things I do to keep myself sane, not quit my job and leave every Friday. But it doesn't matter. People will often tell you, well, you should do this to feel better, or you should do this to feel better. It really doesn't work if someone tells you, you need to find in yourself what makes you happy and what will bring your mental health up. For my husband, golf. For me, no. I'm gonna beat up someone. I wanna break my golf clubs. I'm yelling, screaming, and he's like, you don't belong here, girl. This is not a sport for you. I don't get relaxed. So just because it's relaxed, Billy over there, doesn't mean it has to relax you. But look for what actually works for you. Some people like gardening. I don't want to do it, but I moved to the townhouse because I don't want to do gardening. But some people really, really enjoy that. So if that brings you happiness, but the real happiness, then do it. It will help you relax. So learn to find signs of emotional suffering, and if you see them in someone you love, reach out, connect, and offer to help. I understand, and often it's really hard because we may not have that knowledge, right? We're like, what am I going to tell her? If you don't go to school, you're kind of like, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, sucks. I get it. It doesn't have to be like that. You can sit with your friend, come to the library, open the internet, start searching. You will find tons of assistance anywhere you look around. You just have to be able to go and do it. And sometimes we need a loved one or someone else to help us to do so. So again, self-care, very important. Make sure you take care of yourself. Self-care is something that we forget all the time. We're too busy. We have too much to do. We're too stressed out. And self-care is something that will fix it. I call myself self-care Nazi a little bit, because I will tell my people, what did you do every week, every Friday? I send out email, and then I randomly call them next week. I'll say, what did you do for self-care this weekend? And I always tell them, make sure you do that. You make sure you do that. I want my people to take off the work. I want them to be able to do their self-care so they can come back and help people who need that help. So there's 10 simple ways to practice this is, again, you don't have to do all of them. You can do one. But these are simple ways, and you can actually eat healthy and mindfully. That's something we struggle too. Keep track of your accomplishments. Let yourself know, I did good today. This is awesome. I really nailed this day. Express gratitude. Let's be thankful. We a lot of time have the ability to make money and be successful, whatever, and we forget about the little things we should be grateful for, especially now. We're not sick. That's one of the things that everyone is now grateful for. So express your gratitude and be grateful for a little thing. Gift your inner child. Do things that you love. Who cares if it's something that kids do or you think your people or friends don't agree with, as long as it's legal and you're not engaged in some dangerous behavior. Do your people color now? We saw that. That's a huge uprising, right? Everyone is coloring, buying coloring books and pencils, and people who never colored before are now coloring. Whatever makes you happy, do it. Create a cozy space. That's really important. Everyone should have that in their house. The place you can tuck yourself in and you can feel that you're comfortable and safe. Everyone should have a cozy place. Read a book. Don't read something bad. Oh, it's depressing. Yeah, you don't want to be depressed and reading about, I don't know, concentration camp in the Second World War. That's not going to help your depression. Let's talk, read about something that interests you, something that will grow your mind, something you can learn from, something that makes you happy. Move around, unplug. We need to do that. We all need to do that. I think that there should be Friday should be unplug day. We all work Monday through Thursday, everyone unplug on Friday. Which means we will turn the computers off, screens, whatever you can unplug from. I recently have 3 godkids who live in Pennsylvania. Their mom complained. She called me and she was like, I'm gonna choke them. I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna move out. I'm gonna live alone. They can live there. They're 4, 6, and 12. She's like, I can't do it anymore. They're so hyper and crazy. They need to go back to school. And I said, what do you guys do? And she's like, well, they get out, they play video games, they watch TV, they do this. I was like, you need to plug every single cable out of your house and put it in your bedroom. And these boys need to be without screens. She called me the next day. She was like, we had the best day ever. She said, this is great. The kids are playing puzzles. They're not arguing. They're not fighting. We all need that. We are all very dependent on our electronics. I'm as guilty as you are. As soon as I come home, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the TV on. I know that because that's how I function. I like the background sound of it, but it's not good for you. It's not good to go sleep when your TV is on. Well, a lot of people have a tendency to just put a TV on and lay down and then wait until they fall asleep. Not good. We need the full blown 8 hours of sleep and making sure that you fall asleep on your own, not by using electronic. Create something. People love creating, especially now. Everyone is on Etsy and everyone makes bracelets and earrings or whatever. Do it. Make whatever you want. Sell it online. Whatever you want to do. Just as long as it makes you happy, it will be self-care for you. For me, self-care is, for example, traveling. I travel a lot. I don't live to work, I work to live. So I work for a couple of weeks, months or 2. Next month I'm gonna take a trip. I go to Colorado, I go to Florida, I go to Minnesota. I go anywhere we want to go. But this is what I live for. So that's something that makes me happy and it's my personal self-care. I do. So if we're talking about eating healthy and mindfully, we often eat our meals while multitasking, right? I do that all the time. Doing emails at the same time eating. Having all the food all over the keyboard, but I'm working though, I'm productive. And it's not good for us, it's not. So, you denying yourself the experiencing of a meal too. Eating is great, especially if you get some good food. You gotta turn off and eat. But you're robbing yourself because you're not eating for the pleasure and the relaxation. You're eating to fill your stomach so you have energy to move on and start being active again and doing work and being stressed. So treat yourself with the same level of respect and allow yourself to include in a meal without any distraction. Even if it's one meal a day, especially if you have a kids, there should be that one meal a day when everyone sits at the table, everything is off, people are talking about their day, they're eating, enjoying, and being with their family. So, the accomplishments. If you keep a track of your accomplishment, while they are great merits to do list, right? Who does a to-do list? I have a to-do book. I have to because I'm just have so much going on, and if I don't write it down, I won't forget it. That's how it is. There are great merits to-do list. We must also recognize the things that we have done or accomplished. At the end of the day, make a list, either mental or write it out, of the productive things you have done that day. Did you nurture a relationship? Did you do laundry? Complete a work assignment? No matter how small, you deserve a pat on the back. I do that a lot to myself lately. I'm like, you did good today, Lucy. So proud of you. It's good. Little kids love it. That's all they need. Pat me for being good. express the gratitude. It's as just beneficial to keep track of what we have done. It's also good to notice what we have. Keep a journal by your bed and note the things that you feel lucky to have. Everything from clean sheets to a good friend is worth of nothing. I spent 4 days in Colorado wilderness. We went to Estes Park. I spent 4 days hiking. We did about 50 miles about 50 miles in 4 days. I had never been grateful to the bed when we came home. I was like, oh my God, I feel like a queen. Like, this is a bed. And it was a bed. It was just a bed. But after you experience some kind of thing, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Great example is Naked and Afraid. They spend days and days and days and days in the wilderness. They come home and they appreciate the shower. They appreciate the toothbrush. The things we do not appreciate on a daily basis, we should just stop and say it, like, oh, I am so appreciative of the sun being out today. Little things. Gift your inner child. What were some of favorite things when you were little? What was some of the favorite things you loved to do when you were little? Ladies, anything?
I don't really remember my childhood, so.
I've walked by now too, so.
When I was a kid, I enjoyed sports, and I still enjoy it. So I'm still giving my inner child. But if you love sidewalk chalk, that's something that even now as adult, with my clients, when it gets nice, I get them out of the office and we sit out there and chalk, and the conversation flows much easier when you do something like that. Picking up wildflowers or eating marshmallows, doing the whole marshmallow thing on a fire. Treat your inner child to a little present and allow them the warm feeling will follow. Once you do something you enjoy as a child, it has a tendency to wake up the brain, remembering the positive feelings from the childhood. And that's wonderful for self-care. So create a cozy. Does your bedroom look the way you want it to? Is the lighting good? Would you rather have different lights that is more calming? If it doesn't, maybe add some candles on fun throw pillows. By building a space that feels warm and inviting, you establish an inviting retreat for when your thoughts arise. So when you're feeling bad, that space can help you calm down. Read a book. We talked about a little bit. Finding a book you love is a great way to feel happy. It feels wonderful to look forward a good story, and the act of reading helps encourage a sense of peace. Some of the recommendation is it's called The Interesting, The Tiny Beautiful Things, or Homemade Life. Those are really cute books that will help you feel good, and you will kind of want it to go home, and like, I can't wait to get home and finish the chapter or start a new chapter. Move. What people say about exercise and endorphins is true. Getting active increases feeling of happiness. So when you exercise, your brain releases endorphins, and those are happy thoughts. Well, I guess happy all over, but endorphins, you can also achieve it by eating chocolate, but I would not recommend that. That makes people happy too. Go dancing. Find any kind of physical activity that makes you happy. Go dancing with your friends. Enjoy Saturday morning hike. Go bike with your friends, or go bike, get a coffee. Stop driving a car. So now in Kokomo, they did this whole trail, then you can walk everywhere and you can bike on it. I live on a trail down in Westfield, the trail that goes, it's called Mountain Trail. It goes all the way to the Colt Stadium, over 30 miles one way and 20 miles that way. I'm on that trail every day. It's wonderful. And now we have that in Kokomo. That's awesome. Use it. Unplug. Instagram, Facebook, social media is the main thing. That's the main thing that people struggle with. They can't do it. They can't be without it. It's something that everyone's looking forward. I'm gonna sit on that toilet, I'm gonna pull that Facebook, I'm gonna go scroll through it for a half hour until I see what everyone in the world is doing. And then what? What does it do for me except being focused on the screen for that long? Nothing. They do have some benefits, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I live here, my parents live overseas, my mom wants to see what I'm doing. So I have to put it on Facebook. If my friends put it on Facebook and I haven't yet, she'll call me. She's like, hey, I didn't see no picture. Your friends, I see you with your friends doing stuff. Why are you not posting any pictures? I want to see what you do. So yes, you can find relatives. We had so many wonderful stories that Facebook helped create in different relationships. But in every good is something evil, right? This really makes you feel better to be, expose yourself to everyone's online version of themselves, because that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
People will put online version of themselves. I mean, we have catfish we see all catfish all the time. People you talking to someone, and the next time you meet them, you're like, oh, whoa, you're nothing. Look, their life doesn't look nothing than their Instagram page. It looks like nothing in real life how they look like. But that's some kind of perception people put out there. But what does it do for us? And we're just looking at these people who try to pretend what a wonderful life they have out there, and you sit home dwelling on it. It was like, well, I guess she just went on a trip again, and here I am working hard, living in my one-bedroom apartment. My life sucks. It's not helping anyone. Get off social media. It's not good for anyone. Most often people only report on their success on social media, and so it can be hard when you're comparing your entire life to everyone highlights reels, right? That's very, for the kids specifically. They really think that whatever it's on social media must be true, and that puts them in a huge hole, feeling desperate, and their life is not good enough at someone's. But it's just a picture. It's just someone pretending. Take the time to break away from social media and allow yourself to focus on the beauty of the moment. Look around. I mean, I went into Colorado, I took pictures, don't get me wrong. However, I took the minimal amount. I was like, I don't want to spend 4 days with the phone, walking around like Japanese tourists. No, take the mental picture. You will always remember in your head how it looked like and how you felt inside when you were experiencing that positive moment. People on a concert for 2 hours. Tell me whoever went back and then watched the videos on their phones. Everyone takes videos on the phone. I don't believe not one person ever sit down and says, now I'm going to watch those 2 hours when I was standing here with my shaking hand because my hand already hurt. Then I'm going to watch it now at home. No one's do that. We try to capture something so we can move it on and show other people how well we are doing. But that's not needed. We don't need that. Create something. Whatever is, if it's a batch of brownies or pastel drawing, getting artistic allows us to feel mindful and productive. Be careful, if you're not artistic person, it can lead to frustration, right? You're like, okay, well they said I should self-care, so I'm gonna paint now. Well, I can't paint nothing than a stick figure in a house, so that's not gonna bring me. I'm gonna feel bad because I'm supposed to do that. I don't even feel like doing it. So creating is, you have to have that in you. You don't have to do it just because someone's told you. But if you want to, it's a great way to self-care. Build a self-care kit. I love that. Fill a pretty basket with some of the things that makes you feel special. It could be or majority ladies. So let's say it could be a nail polish. It could be a bag of gummy frogs, coconut lotion, picture we love of our loved ones who, I don't know, live somewhere, pair of cozy socks. Whatever makes you feel good. For me, it's a rope. You guys don't do much ropes in America, but in Europe, we do ropes. I'm in my rope all the time. My husband's like, why are you walking around like you're in the hospital sick? And I was like, I love my rope. It just makes me feel so cozy, So find something what makes you feel cozy and use it. Place your pick somewhere like in a pretty basket, and you can put it in a bathroom or your cozy corner, whatever you want to do. But have it there when you have a bad day and you need extra love. You can put your favorite book in it and just use it when you don't feel good. Remember, by being your best self, you are able to share those beautiful feelings with those around you. Search for the good, share your piece, and watch the positivity grow. This is a phone number, you're free to take it down. This is a crisis services. You can call this line at any time of the day. It's 24/7 line. The person on the other hand will help you with your crisis, no matter what it is. So feel free to utilize this phone number. If you feel that you need to talk to someone or you would like to reach out for some assistance, we're here. We're working really hard to make sure that Midwest Indiana, specifically Northern Indiana, and all the communities around us have the ability to reach out and get assistance from Fort County, deal with their mental health issues. Thank you guys for coming.
Yay.